Welcome back again to Impulse Plays. I am Crazy Carl Winter here with Ryan Fried Shrimp Marvin on our third attempt at getting this video going. How are you doing again, Ryan?
Carl, I'm still doing great. I got rice, I got wine. I'm ready to do this.
That's good. That's good. We're gonna look at. I couldn't think of any way to tie these decks into rice and wine, but we've got Treva,
Uh-huh.
Feb, Aluren, and Burn. So we've got your Burn list here, which I think is the correct list. You said there might be some different changes between like what you have on this deck pick that we're looking at here and what you normally play.
Yeah, it's possible that we might see Seal of Fires and more Sulfuric Vortexes in the main,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got the two Curse Scrolls. Pretty much, it was closer to Dick's Burn, but it was red cards that I owned.
Sure, sure, yep.
Um,
And those are
yeah.
very good red cards. So we'll see how they fare against my Aluren list, which is the pretty typical blue, white, green Aluren list, playing meddling mages and stuff like that. But I tossed the Feb combo in there, which I'll toss a card up here so you can look at my Feb combo. If you're not sure how the Vara Shapeshifter, Phyrexian Devour, Triskelion combo works, you can see it there. As for the Aluren combo, it's not super weird. It basically revolves around Cavern Harpy, looping things with Manowars or Raven Familiars. With the Manowars, you can loop. Long story short, you can loop a Spike Feeder. I was blanking on the name for a second. Spike Feeder to gain infinite life. Then you can use that infinite life to then loop the Manowar with Wall of Roots, get infinite mana, and then you can use your Manowar to then bounce your Spike Feeder again to move 1/1 counters onto all your creatures and then kill your opponent.
Yep. Plus, the deck gets to play Survival of the Fittest.
It sure
So
does, along with
it's
Learn, which is a pretty good combo.
Yeah, quite good, I would say. I will note, you mentioned it has a lot of meddling mages. There is just the one meddling mage, but
Mm,
um, I mean, we'll get into maybe why that's important later.
yeah. So we got Ryan on the left playing Burn, me on the right mulliganing to 6 playing Aluren, and from what I know from the previous recording we tried to do, Ryan gets to go first.
Yep.
And I made fun of you for not having Tempest Mountains, which is why you were not able to cast Jackal Pup on turn 1 here.
Yeah, exactly. And you said it before. You'll say it again. It's still just as true.
Yep, yep.
Tempest Mountains have been scientifically proven, of course,
Mm-hmm.
to allow you to cast a Jackal Pup on one with a currently pending study about its ability to repel opposing swords to plowshares and
Mm,
walls.
yes, that is very powerful.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's a new technology. They're calling it Flores.
Mm,
The Flores theory.
nice. Well, good news for you is
But
I have
besides
a
that.
lot of Tempest Mountains kicking around after I cleaned out our local game store of pre-modern basics. So if you're interested in them, let me know. I'll give them to you.
Great. Well, I mean, uh, unfortunately, I am
Ooh,
currently casting Shock, which,
not
they
ideal, but
are
that Sulfuric
not.
Vortex is really good.
Yep, on the back end, the very powerful no spike feeder lines for you.
Yeah, yeah. Spike Feeder notably is a life gain card, and to do all the infinite loops in this deck that actually meaningfully affect your opponent, you need to gain infinite life. So I think I am functionally locked out of the game on turn 3, which is kind of awkward. I could go for
Well,
like some beatdown stuff here, like I can attack with Raven Familiars, but I don't think there's any way I can possibly race the burn spells.
you do have decent amount. I mean, you still have the Rashad and Cuppers line.
That's
Um,
true. If that's in this deck, which I can't remember. Oh, I do have the Feb line. So I do have Valar Shapeshifter and Phyrexian Devourer and Triskelion. So I can combo you out that way. So I don't have the
yeah.
so basically this Sulfuric Vortex shuts down the Aluren lines, which is part of the reason why I put the Feb combo in there is to have outs against situations where the Aluren lines are not going to be good enough to win.
Yeah, I mean, Sulfuric Vortex is, quite a popular card in the red
Mm-hmm.
deck.
Yep.
And having access to those would be quite good. And you know what? I don't know if you explained the Phyrexian Volrash shapeshifter. Have you explained it yet? Because if so, I want to give it a if not, I want to give it a try.
You give it a try. I'll again. I don't know if I can put the card again a second time, but I'll definitely put that link
Okay.
into how it goes. So go ahead and explain it while I'm re-familiaring.
Yeah, so a bit of a fun fact. The first time I saw this happen, you were playing up against Quinn
Mm-hmm.
at the first pre-modern event I had ever played. I had
Mm,
heard about the card Mog Fanatic, I think less than 12 hours before that event.
Mhm.
And so pretty much it goes like this. If you have a Volrath Shapeshifter, it will enter as the top card in your graveyard.
Mhm.
So if you cast Volrath Shapeshifter and you have a Triskelion in your hand, and a Phyrexian Devourer in your hand, you win. Because
Exactly.
what you can do is pay a green and other creature cards.
Yes.
Um,
This is if you have Survival
you
of Fittest in play as well for the green mana.
yes, yes, that too. So you pay a green, activate your survival, discard Phyrexian Devourer. You activate your Phyrexian Devourer a certain number of times.
Mhm.
Then, while those triggers are on the stack, you turn your Vorash Shapeshifter into a Triskelion,
Mhm.
activating your Survival of the Fittest again. Uh, and then you fling all those plus encounters at your opponent, and they die.
Very correct. Yes, you have the general idea. There's a little bit of nuance into how the combo functions rules wise, but you got the general idea
Yeah,
there. The big difference in your explanation and how I would explain it is that with the Devourer, there's a sacrifice trigger once it gets too big, and yeah, I just die, which I assume is going to happen here. Sacrifice trigger when you get to 7 power. You respond to that sacrifice trigger one at a time by activating Devourer multiple times, so you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you discard the Skeleton and you throw the damage to your opponent. So, um,
yeah.
key part is noting that Devourer trigger, which I was not aware of when I first built the deck. I was just like, oh yeah, you just kind of go crazy. That was not how it worked. Spoiler alert. All right, so we've got we'll actually talk about how the gameplay is going, which last game was, I think, pretty straightforward. It's just burn at the face. But you have missed your
Yeah.
second land drop against my Wall of Roots, but you do have 2 Jackal Pups, despite not having Tempest Mountain, which I think is impressive.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the lack of Jackal Pup on one was reversed in this game,
Mm-hmm.
except now you have a lot scarier of a start because I still don't have land 2. You have Wall of Roots and Survival of the Fittest
Yeah.
with what looks like an Aluren. Oh, no, I think you top deck it. Coming next turn.
Yep. Yep. So I get to survival. I unfortunately have to survival away Raven Familiar, which is not ideal. Um, but I get the squee, and then I get to do squee things, and it's going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think the trade-off of losing one of your multiple Raven familiars
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
allowing squee lines to be unlocked, I think I would take that trade most days. Maybe not on Sunday, but depends on Sunday.
That's fair. That's fair.
Looks like you're going for Wall Roots. I'm assuming like Wall Roots pitch squee, or no, like get squee pitch Wall Roots.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. I like
Oh,
I
the
like
squee's
to
already
get
in the yard.
yeah, I like to get more Wall of Roots so that I can block more effectively because you are going to
Okay,
attack with your creatures, and I would like to utilize the blocking mechanic in Magic the Gathering to keep myself from dying.
quite a strong mechanic,
I thought so
having
too.
walls.
It is pretty good. Defender is a very
Yeah.
powerful ability.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of happy about Wall's position in Pauper,
Mm-hmm.
because most mono red decks right now in Pauper are doing go wide token strategies and
Right,
are a
which are
lot less face
gross.
forward burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mono red pauper deck is really gross. Very,
Yep.
very
Who
gross.
knew that destroying an artifact to create 3 goblins would break the format?
Especially when that artifact gives you value when it gets destroyed.
Yeah.
All right, so
Who
I'm
would have thought,
surviving
bro?
here, and I don't know what I get. I think I get like a Raven Familiar here. It was okay. It's just a Scallion. Okay, I
No,
guess.
you have
Oh,
Trike, and yeah,
okay. So I'm just
you're just
going for the
gonna
Feb kill. Okay,
devour me.
yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. So, it'll be very difficult to interact with. So with the Feb combo, and I explained this in a lot of depth in the Feb primer that I did with Andy Culpepper, who will someday come back and play Magic with us. Um, but the long and short of it is with a survival of the fittest in play, enough mana, Devourer, Trike, and a Shapeshifter. Short of countering the Shapeshifter, there's no way to interact with the combo to keep your opponent from killing you. So that is what I'm currently going for, is loading up my hand with enough combo pieces to just kill Ryan. Um, I'm going to probably try and get this Aluren out and throw my Wall of Roots around and try to build up again to that point where I have the Devourer, the Trike, and the Shapeshifter. Because the way it works out is with the Survival of the Fittest, as you mentioned earlier, the discard from Survival of the Fittest is part of the activation of Survival of the Fittest, which means if you hold priority, even if you don't hold priority, whenever you have priority, you can just discard it without your opponent responding to it effectively, and then you get died. Uh, Ryan, are you cheating by not paying mana for this ball lightning?
Not quite, Carl. See, the thing about Aluren, it is a two-sided enchantment. It's a two-way street. So
Yep,
I get to cast my ball lightning without cracking my fetch.
which is pretty
Um,
sweet.
yeah, quite good. I mean, it will maybe allow some wall roots to get through. I mean, they're starting to get a bit low.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at this point, I'm just, I'm 5 creatures wide. The wall roots are just continuing to gain you life here.
Yeah, yeah, they're soaking up a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And I don't think I want to trade a wall of roots for life at this point. Short, I mean, with like the ball lightning, I think it's just block the jackal pups and then try and kill you next turn.
Yeah, definitely. The wall roots here are worth a lot more as sources of green mana
Yeah.
than as life points, especially because at this point, you're still at 17. You just Hydroblasted my ball lightning,
Yep.
and now you get to you're going down to 15. Sure, I have, 3 untapped red mana effectively, and 4 cards in my hand, as we can see, a Bolt, a Pyroblast, a Price of Progress, and I think another Pyroblast.
Yeah.
Your combos tend to beat the stack. And you've had a
Yes.
squee for, I think it's been 3 or 4 turns now.
Effectively 18 years, yeah.
Yeah, just about 18 years.
So notably here, which I think you might end up missing in this game if I remember correctly, Var Shapeshifter is a spell and it can be countered. So as I mentioned earlier, if you can counter the Shapeshifter, you don't have to worry about the Feb combo because there's no Shapeshifter in play to turn into those creatures that are on top of your graveyard. But if the Shapeshifter resolves, then you are died.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't keep up the red mana to cast the Pyroblast that you've had in your hand for, X amount of turns,
Mm-hmm.
the game will not go well if your opponent has already the 3 cards they need to kill you in hand.
Yeah, so actually, interesting thing here because I think you tap out with the lightning bolt here, and I can just kill you in response. But um, interesting thing is you had the pyroblast, but you didn't stop my hydroblast on the ball lightning. I'm curious as to why you might have made that decision to not let the ball lightning get through.
Yeah, my thought process there was, you have 2 Wall of Roots. Even though you do have, squeeze continuing, I can just continue to try and get in a couple damage. I really want my uh burn spell. Well, I want my burn spells to resolve because you could still just, have swords.
Yeah,
Um,
third mulligan. Nah,
actually, I don't know. Maybe you know what? I could very well have been wrong there.
that's entirely possible. But anyway,
Yeah.
the Feb combo happens. I probably should have lost that game, so we're going into a bonus game 3 with a nice blast on the Jackal Pup turn 1. Unfortunately, off of a City of Brass, which not ideal against the burn deck.
Yeah, not ideal, but again, like you mentioned earlier, my mountains are not from Tempest, so they don't have the ability to repel your beautiful signed Hydroblast.
That's fair
But here
enough.
comes Ball Lightning.
Yeah, and I make the decision to not soak the damage with the ball lightning, or of the ball lightning with the wall of roots. So I could have taken 3 as opposed to taking 6, which would have left me at like what 15. I don't know if that would have been better or not. Like I guess I have the mana for Aluren here, so yeah, it makes sense that I would keep the mana open. I would want to keep my mana source in place so I can cast Aluren, but I don't. I mean, I guess I have a Raven Familiar to follow up, but I don't have a lot of action. So what I'm saying is
Yeah,
a
I mean,
little sus, but
it's not great, but if you have a lot of live draws off of the
mm-hmm.
Raven Familiar, like
Yeah, like
you
Mana
hit
War.
Mana War, which allows you to keep going. Unfortunately, here you
Yeah, I end up bricking.
think grab the swords if I remember right.
Yeah, whatever I grab is not going to be ideal.
Yeah.
Plow is nice for if you have another ball lightning that you can just cast for free.
Hmm.
Which I mentioned when we were talking earlier that you can, with a learn in play, cast ball lightning at your opponent's end step, then untap with your ball lightning in play because your ball lightning doesn't sacrifice until the beginning of the end step. So if you do it during the end step, it lasts a whole turn cycle.
Hmm.
It gets a whole like 2 extra phases of existence out of it. It's great. I'm always happy for the ball lightning gets to live that long.
Yeah, the life of a ball lightning, it's very short, but it's very impactful.
Yep, I get it. That reminds me of talking about the life cycle of bugs because my son is super into bugs. So we talk about how short-lived a lot of bugs are, and it's kind of sobering when you think about it in that regard. All right, so I think you named not Fire Blast there because I did not take any damage, which is exciting for me.
Yeah, I definitely I know
Oh, it
I
would have been
named
Pyro.
Pyroblast there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So now you got three, so you got much better odds of, or you got two. Sorry, two Pyroblast in your three-card hand. So you got much better
yeah.
odds of hitting it there. And
Yep,
I'm gonna
Raven Familiar turning sideways.
as it does,
Yep,
and
and in
Utabi
response
Ranghang
to
to
Curse Scroll,
kill
here
that.
comes the
Nice.
orangutan.
Yep.
So Utabi
And
Orangutang's gonna kill my
presumably you
scroll,
don't go for the lower odds. And I hit the
and I reveal the
Pyroblast.
Pyroblast. You go to 8, and now I untap.
I am in some danger. So you have a Fire Blast in hand. I have a Hydroblast, but you have a Pyroblast to stop the Hydroblast on your Fire Blast. A lot of blasting going on
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I mean the lack of burn spells in the early and mid game.
Ooh, this is loose. Tapping my City of
Oh right, I
Brass
forgot. Oh
to
yes,
plow.
yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about this. The let's gain 1 life.
Yeah. I mean, one life is one life, but I could have used my Windswept Teeth and gotten a Plains and kept my blue mana open. Oh no, I have a Yamaikos. I'm sorry. Okay. I could have
Yeah.
gotten a net amount of the same amount of life and had a Plains in play and have cracked my fetch as opposed to not
Hmm.
doing that. So I think that was a suspect play on my part.
Yeah, certainly possible. I mean, we got another Raven Familiar turning sideways, so this is
Only 14 more
you were
turns.
talking about you were talking about Ball Lightning not having a short lifespan. How about Raven Familiars that get to turn sideways? Not
They are
very
living
many.
the dream. They are living the dream.
Yeah.
What's fun is I have since stamped my Raven Familiars with the Impulse Cruise stamp because it's an Impulse bird, so it makes sense to stamp it.
Exactly.
All right, my virtual life total is not very high at this point. You got a bazillion mana. You have Threshold on Demand with your Fire Blast, and Barbarian Ring represents 4 damage. So I'm effectively at 5. You have to draw like a bolt or something, and I just die. Price Progress
Yep.
does it.
And if you see from my leg going from tapping to not tapping,
Mm-hmm.
you going untap, draw, go
Mm-hmm.
felt pretty good.
Yep.
Now the pressure is high because if this price of progress resolves, we're in
Mm-hmm.
business.
Yep, which you are.
It does resolve. I am also going to take some damage eventually, but I'm going to cast Fire Blast,
You got 2 red floating, and then you can.
and
Yep.
I
You either kill me with the Fire
pronounce
Blast or.
death.
Yep. The Barbarian Rings get me. So yeah, the Barbarian Rings turn on with Threshold. They get just turned into a shock for. Well, man, I guess it's an actual shock, but no way for me to stop that. Like I had a a Hydro Blast. I could have stopped the Fire Blast or the Price of Progress, but I mean, if you had a second 4 damage burn spell, I just died, which in this case you did.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to sometimes in the, the red versus blue. If the
Mm-hmm.
red has the blast, if I have more than you,
Yep.
guess whose spell resolves?
It's gonna be you. Yep. I like the Price of
Yeah.
Progress is here. Price of Progress is such a powerful card. Like so many mana bases in pre-modern are full of non-basic lands. Like there's like 3 decks that are commonly played that don't play basics, and even then they still play some number of non-basics. Like Dreadnought plays Mishra's Factory, Stasis plays Forsaken City. Like they always have something in play. Like there's always something to hit with it.
Yeah, and the risk to the burn player is also relatively low.
Yeah.
If you're playing 4 barbarian rings, you get hurt a little bit more compared to if you're running, 2 or 3. But
Right.
it's a very small percentage point because 9 times out of 10, if you're casting Price of Progress, your opponent's going to be hurting a lot more than you.
Correct. And if you're not, you still got burn spells to like break that symmetry.
Yeah, exactly. That's what your deck does. It
Exactly.
points red damage at face.
It sure does. It sure does. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the match. And for Ryan and myself, have a great rest of the day, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Stay spicy.